Good morning. Good afternoon. Today's presentation will be on new literacy studies. New literacy studies contends that students' interactions with each other, technology, and information will lead to greater equality, a social cultural revolution, and a new epoch in human history. Dr. James Paul McGee retired in 2019 as the Mary Lou Fulton Presidential Professor of Literacy Studies and a Regents Professor at Arizona State University. He is a member of the National Academy of Education. Dr. G has published extensively in the field of linguistics, both socially and digitally. G began his studies as a theoretical linguist, but eventually shifted to a career as a social linguist with a focus on discourse analysis, learning theory, and digital media and learning. His early work, such as sociolinguistics and literacy, focused on studying the elements of cultural consideration in literacy. This text became a key artifact in the development of new literacy studies. Another early work, Introduction to Discourse Analysis, began the quest to understand the various social and cultural interaction at play in regards to literacy obtainment. Dr. James Paul Gee retired in 2019 as the Mary Lou Fulton Presidential Professor of Literacy Studies and a Regents Professor at Arizona State University. He is a member of the National Academy of Education. Dr. G has published extensively in the field of linguistics, both socially and digitally. G began his studies as a theoretical linguist, but eventually shifted to a career as a social linguist with a focus on discourse analysis, learning theory, and digital media and learning. His earlier works, such as sociolinguistics and literacies, focus on studying the elements of cultural considerations in literacy. This text became a key artifact in the development of new literacy studies. Another early work, Introduction to Discourse Analysis, began the quest to understand the various social and cultural interaction at play in regards to literacy obtainment. Dr. G believed that the obtainment of literacy was not a static force, but fluid and situation dependent. He proved this by defining the acquisition of two types of language. Primary is the home house community language, while secondary is all home, non-home based social institutional languages. Secondary languages are multifaceted and vary depending upon the arena of use, whether it be church, work, book club, or the gym. So to G, literacy is defined as a control over a secondary discourse. He touches on the element of equitable distribution of comfort with academic literacy by exploring how closely the primary language correlated with the secondary one. A child's vocabulary at age 5 correlates to his success after first grade. This fact calls into question the notion that education levels the playing field. School becomes difficult because it eventually becomes a battle between the primary and secondary language. How closely one aligns with the other is a key factor in determining a student's success after first grade. G also considers the socialization of marriage of a language with one's socialization experiences. In a lecture, he uses the example that if you give a child a mouse at 2, they will associate technology with their early memories and experiences. This creates a positive correlation with technology. The same thing works with literacy. If you expose a child to academic vocabulary at a young age, it will be married with socialization. So what I'd like you to do is take a moment and click onto the Padlet, which there's a link below, and I want you to write about what your primary language is versus your secondary language, and how the socialization of that language help you marry literacy in your mind and in your life. Dr. G's work and publications between 2003 and 2017 were inspired by playing a video game with his 6-year-old son. He realized several things. To speak a certain language, a person must become part of the discourse community of that language. To obtain literacy in that language, a person must be immersed in it. There must be a context for users. Information must be gathered in the language. Action must be taken in that language. Critical thinking and problem solving must occur in that language. And writing about the language must occur. Also, there must be a mentor or guide to assist you in the infiltration of the entrance into this language of the field. He found this true not only of the gaming world, but of the academic world as well. One of G's key theories was on discourse with a big D versus discourse with a little d. What he meant by discourse with a big D is the notion that, and I quote, people often believe that language is a tool primarily for saying things, for giving information. But in reality, language is a tool for 3 things: saying, doing, and being. When we speak or write, we simultaneously say something, inform, do something, act, and are something, be. When we listen to or read, we have to know what the speaker or writer is saying, doing, and being in order to fully understand, end quote. G focuses on 2 schools of thought as implications for the classroom regarding his theories and ideas. And he believes that there are 2 schools of thought regarding teaching. One school of thought believes in teaching the basics, which he says is teaching the context of a language. And he said that grammar means nothing without context. The implications for the classroom of G's theories are as follows. One is that there are 2 schools of thought regarding education. One is that if we teach the basics, students will succeed. The other is that it is imperative to teach critical thinking and the application of the information or the language and literacy that is acquired. G believes that grammar without context is absolutely irrelevant and without context, and means nothing. The implications for the classroom for G's theory are to first consider the 2 school systems. One school system believes in teaching the basics, while the other believes in creating critical problem solving. G believes in the second paradigm of education. G believes that grammar means nothing without context. He believes that all words must have an image, action, dialogue, and goals. He believes that in schools, language is only hard because there's no game or application of knowledge. G believes that you cannot overestimate the linguistic ability of human beings when they care. Literacy is a practice just like playing video games is. And in games, you learn the language, you do language, you write about the language, and you talk about the language. G believes that literacy is not the ability to just decode, but it's the ability to live within a language and to experience that language and do something with that language. And these implications for the classroom are that students must be encouraged to do some critical thinking and to do something with the information or knowledge that they've acquired. So the further implications for new literacy studies are first that there will be a societal transformation where technology and a shift from paper-based to a digital-based world will shift and transform society. The second way is that it's going to create diversity and allow students to interact with one another in a new and so the 4 tenets and the future implications of the new literacy paradigm is that first there will be a societal transformation, and that society is currently being transformed by the shift from a paper-based society to a digital-based society. Secondly, human encounters are creating diversity and allowing students to interact in ways that and with individuals they were never allowed to interact with before, or the opportunities were not created to interact with before. Inequalities will be decreased as people are allowed to have a forum for a voice, and revolutions can occur through these eliminations of inequalities. And human history is going to be redefined, and a new stage of civilization is going to be created. G's current work involves studying the way creating literacy and the outcome of literacy can lead to the human flourishing of a society. He states in his blog, which he's very active in keeping, and the quote I'd like to conclude with is, "In the end, we may also be able to finally show how schools, as we have so long known them, can die a peaceful death and be replaced with a much more holistic focus on health, collaboration, problem solving, development, and flourishing for humans and all the life on the planet that sustains them, and all of which they are but a part."